You're all set to begin.
Thank you very much. I'll call the Monday, August 21st, 2023 meeting of the Barnstable Community Preservation Committee to order. This meeting of the Community Preservation Committee is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting and to please make their presence known. Anyone out there recording? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Terry Duenas, Marilyn Fifield.
Here. Here.
Deb Converse. Catherine Garofoli.
Here.
Tom Lee.
Here.
Farley Lewis.
Here.
Stephen Robichaud. And Lindsay Council. That makes 5, which gives us a quorum. First item is approval of the minutes. Approval of the draft Community Preservation Committee annual meeting minutes from July 17th, 2023. Everyone had a chance to look those over?
Yeah. Yes.
Look good to me. Thanks for doing that, Ellen. Is there a motion?
I would move to approve, Marilyn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Marilyn Fifield.
Aye.
Catherine Garofoli.
Aye.
Tom Lee.
Aye.
Farley Lewis.
Aye.
And Lindsay Council votes aye. Do we have any late attending members coming in? Namely Terry. No?
No.
All right. Next we'll move to the approval of the draft Community Preservation Committee regular meeting minutes from July 17th, 2023. Any discussion, changes? That was a great annual meeting too. I just thought it was really good, and I thank the committee again for that. But anyway, that's an aside. It was a great regular meeting too. Any other discussion on the minutes? Regular meeting minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the roll on that. Marilyn Fifield.
Do we have a motion?
Oh, we didn't get a motion, did we yet?
Yeah. I would move to approve them.
All right.
Second.
Second by Catherine. Now we can vote. Marilyn Fifield.
Aye.
Catherine Garofoli. Catherine, you're muted.
Sorry. Aye.
Tom Lee.
Aye.
Farley Lewis.
Aye.
And Lindsay Council votes aye. Okay, that's the business part of that agenda. Next, we have letters of intent. Was received from the Historical Society of Santuit and Katuitt, HSSC, requesting $1,825 in community preservation, historic preservation funds for their German POW bottle project, which involves the restoration of a time capsule buried by German POWs held at Camp Edwards during World War II and found at Point Isabella in Katuitt. The total restoration project cost is $2,375, with $550 have been raised by HSSC. The Barnstable Historic Commission determined this artifact to be historically significant on July 18th, 2023, and the restored artifact would become part of an existing permanent display about Camp Can Do It at HSCC. And with us tonight is Cindy Nickerson from the group to give us a broader description. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you, Lindsay. And thank you all so much for considering our letter of intent. And thank you, Ellen, for guiding me through the process. Well, back in, I sent 5 PDFs to use as exhibits if somebody wanted to show those.
Just let me know which one you want me to pull up, because you did label them, so I can pull them up.
Thanks. Exhibit A then, please.
Just one second.
Thanks, Sarah. So back in late January, landscaper Shane Adams of Marston's Mills found a Granada wine bottle when he was working at Point Isabella here in Cotuit. And it was half buried in a hillside about 20 feet above sea level. And to his amazement, when he dug it out of the ground, there was a message in it, and printed on the reverse side of a Quaker rice flake cereal box in blue ink. And the words he could make out were prisoner of war, 1944, Camp Edwards, along with 3 German names. So as a history buff, he knew that this had been the location of Camp Kanduit during World War II, and that German POWs had been housed at Camp Edwards during this time. So he recognized the bottle's historical value, and he brought it to Cotuit Historical Society. At the same time, he also notified the Cape Cod Times, and Eric Williams picked up on the story and covered it, which was just up his alley. And then in quick succession, we also had coverage on the bottle by the Boston Globe, and I think 2 Boston TV stations. So the only one I could find online at this point was WBZ News. But this flurry of media attention really pointed up to us that this artifact really had the potential of sparking the public's interest in this aspect of Cotuit's history. Just to give you a little more background, Camp Kanduit was constructed in 1942 when Cotuit Harbor became the site of the Army's training for amphibious tanks. And so during their training exercises, they had them rolling ashore on Dead Neck Sampson's Island and on the beaches of Papaneset. And they also did a mock invasion of Martha's Vineyard in 1942 before they took the vessels over to North Africa. There were also 2 other satellite camps, one in Osterville called Camp Have Done It, and one at on Washburn Island called Camp Washburn. So in late March, I took the bottle up to the Northeast Document Conservation Center in Andover and met with some conservators. And while we were sitting there were, in addition to the fragments of the cereal box, there were some smaller pieces of paper rolled up very tightly inside the bottle, and that just fell out while I was there. They found that the thin cardboard was too brittle to take out without hurting it. So later on, they put some humidification into the bottle so that it became flexible enough that they could roll it up really tightly with long tweezers, and they were able to pull it out without damaging anything. And at that point, they could clearly see the 3 names: Lothar Gerner, Andreas Walney, and Johann Huppertz. And there were also addresses for the 3 POWs on the smaller fragments. What we've conjectured is that the soldiers created the bottle as kind of a time capsule when they were helping to dismantle Camp Kanduit in 1944. Given where it was likely never something they intended to throw into the water. So the pictures that you're seeing on the right-hand side, they seem to me to be totally the same as on the left-hand side, except they're darker and harder to see. But the before picture on the left-hand side is the one at the bottom, and that shows how the paper fragments were all curled up when they were taken out of the bottle. And so they proceeded to clean the fragments and to wash them, to deacidify them, and they flattened them. So in the middle picture, you can see the way they looked afterwards on the side of the cereal box that was printed as a cereal box. And in the top picture, it shows the printing that one of the POWs did. In addition to displaying the bottle and the fragments, excuse me, I'm sort of out of place here. We hope to display these fragments under UV filtered glass as part of a Camp Can Do It display so that people can see exactly what it says on the fragments. If you move to Exhibit C, thank you. We also, one thing that they suggested, in addition to just conserving the paper fragments, which is perhaps the most important part of the whole mystique about this that's of interest to people is the fact that it was a message in the bottle. So part of the exhibit will be facsimiles of the fragments that were created photographically on both sides and then rolled back up and inserted into the bottle so that visitors here will be able to see what it looked like upon its discovery. We're also hoping as part of this to contact the families of the POWs and hoping that they might have shared memories of what it was like to be a prisoner of war on Cape Cod. And also just that we think the families will be really tickled to know that about this discovery. Exhibit D is just a monetary breakdown of the NEDCC's proposal. So the biggest part of that was the recommended conservation treatment, including, which is going to include written and photographic documentation of the process, the cleaning, the flattening, the stabilization of the fragments, and that comes to $1,330. And then the part of creating the facsimiles of the paper fragments to go back into the bottle is $675. And they also recommended as desirable, but as optional, an archival custom storage box, including a cradle for holding the bottle. And that is $370. They also recommended some photography that we didn't contract for because we figured we could do that ourselves. So the whole thing comes to $2,375, and I did write an article for a newsletter, and 3 of our good friends donated a total of $550 toward the conservation of the artifact, which leaves $1,825 that we're asking CPC for. Just a note that we already did make a 30% down payment of $712.50, but that was $160.50 short of what we already had in hand. So
Excellent.
the last exhibit is just the invoice, which to support
That's
those
fine.
things.
We don't need to see that. Thank you very much, Cindy. Appreciate it. Any questions from the members about this? I think it's amazing that they actually stuck it in the side of the hill. That's fascinating.
Yeah. It is.
No questions from members?
No.
All right, anybody here from the public to speak to this? I don't see anyone. All right, the action required tonight would be to move this request to full application. So that is what we would be looking for regarding this letter of intent. Anyone have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Yes, second by Tom. All right, any discussion, further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll to move the request of the Historic Society of Santuit and Kentuit for the German POW bottle to full application. Marilyn Fifield.
Aye. That's aye.
Thank you. Catherine Garofoli.
Aye.
Tom Lee.
Aye.
Farley Lewis.
Aye.
And Lindsay Council votes aye. Thank you very much, Cindy. We'll get you together with Ellen to do a full application to the committee and get you back here probably in September to get final approval.
Wonderful. I thank you so very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great evening.
Good for the
You too.
story.
Thanks.
It's a great story.
Yep.
Okay, moving along, we have no applications for tonight. So we'll move on to CPC admin funds. We have been moving the bikeway project forward, phase 3, that's going to be landing in Mary Dunn Road. This project starting in February. I confirmed today with DPW. So we need some legal work for that, to do a couple of closings and recording some documents, maybe some title work. So legal has asked that we set aside $10,000 in CPC administration funds for that legal work. And if that's okay with members, I'd like to get your okay. It's when we get up some of these larger expenses, I like to make sure that you guys are aware. So we're doing that. If it's all right, we could agree by a show of hands that the expense of $10,000, up to $10,000 for CPC administration funds for the Cape Cod Rail Trail. All members in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Marilyn? Marilyn, you're muted. Marilyn.
Sorry. I only wanted to say aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that is approved. We received no correspondence this month. The next item is project updates. And the first item is an updated vote by the Community Preservation Committee regarding the Mills property for a gift of a conservation restriction to be granted to Mass Fish and Wildlife. This CR will then be forwarded to the Town Council for final review and approval, and when complete, the acquisition of the 1/2 interest of the 15-acre parcel can be scheduled. So what we're doing here, we've already approved the funding in 2007. And we've been waiting for this day to come when the conservation restriction was ready to go. And what we'll be doing is granting a gift of a conservation restriction to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts through the Department of Fish and Game for the 15 acres. Which will bring the Santuit Pond Conservation Area from 293 to 308 acres. That'll be the total acreage that was originally included in the Cape Cod Club Golf Course. So it's very interesting. It's taken us quite a while to get here.
Yeah.
Any questions from members? I have an official motion to read,
Okay.
if you're ready for that. I move
Yep.
that the Barnstable Community Preservation Committee request the Barnstable Town Council grant a gift of a conservation restriction to be placed on approximately 15.24 acres of land known as the Mills parcels to be held by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, acting through its Department of Fish and Game in accordance with Chapter 149 of the Acts of 2013, said conservation restriction to be effectuated by means of an amendment to the consensual order of taking of a conservation restriction on the adjacent 293-acre property co-owned by the towns of Barnstable and Mashpee, dated June 12, 2002, and recorded in the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, book 15305, at page 123, by which amendment said 15.24 acres will be added to said conservation restriction, and request the town manager schedule a public hearing with the Barnstable Town Council for consideration of the gift of this restriction. Pretty official. Any discussion on the motion? Was it clear?
Yep.
All right, no discussion. I will call the roll. Any public comment? No public comment. I will call the roll.
Do you need a
Yes,
second?
Oh, did we get a second on that?
I'll second it.
Tom Lee seconds. Thank you, Tom, for picking that up. I'll call the roll. Marilyn Fifield,
Aye.
Catherine Garofoli,
Aye.
Tom Lee,
Aye.
Barley Lewis,
Aye.
and Lindsay Council votes aye. Another step in the long road of the Mills project.
Yeah.
But we have a CR. I believe the draft had also been forwarded to the Open Space Committee. So they'll get a chance to look at it and comment to the council. And when all of this is done, we'll schedule the closing.
Yay.
All right. And actually, I could have mentioned to Cindy from the Historic Society of Santuit and Katuitt how their work was going. That's ongoing. They just did some insulation work and are closing things up over there. So that's a good project moving along. In regards to 2320 Meeting House Way, we have the appraisal. We have the water quality review of that property for potential and impacts. That's completed, but we have not been able to find a consultant to do a potential review of the property for housing.
Okay.
Anyone can help us with that. We've reached out to a number of people. Farley Lewis, go ahead.
No, I'm just curious as to whether this is just going to really put the brakes on this, you know, moving forward until we can find somebody who's, you know, interested in evaluating it for housing. I mean, how long do we have to kind of stall
Well,
this?
there's no timeline on this. This property is for sale, asking considerable amount of money. It's a 61A. That's why we're preparing for it. It's a Chapter 61. So when if they do get a bona fide offer, then we would have to respond to that. So we're doing our background work now. So there's no timeline.
All right. Okay.
If it were to be acquired, any notion for other purposes, there'd be considerable amount of fundraising that would need to be required, need to be done. So, you know, this one's just one we're working on, but
okay.
not
No, it
moving
just
at
seems
this
like
point.
it's kind of hit a flat spot here, and we're not moving
Yeah, with this getting an evaluation for our housing project, I just
and until that's accomplished, we can't really do anything further with it, I presume.
Yeah, we had no intention. There was no intention of acquiring this. It was a request from the folks at the Water District and PWB to look at it. And so we're prepared, and if they're interested in partnering with us to some degree, we'll be ready to go.
Got it. Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. The Wheeler Road grant application was submitted on time, and the results should be in October or November of 2023. And our recommendation has been forwarded for inclusion on a town council agenda in November when we find out more about the grant. Any projects I missed or didn't have something on? All right, seeing none, we'll go to general discussion. You all got your notice of this time for conflict of interest training, your favorite thing. Schedule out a good hour or two to do that. And make sure you copy us with your certificate so we can get that over to Cindy.
Yeah.
For the September meeting too, it's time to schedule election of officers. So we'll do that on the September 18th meeting.
Okay.
And then we have two sort of ongoing discussions out of the annual meeting. One is our finalizing of the requirements for our historic projects, one being the determination from the Mass Historic Commission that property and proposed preservation restoration work qualify for a preservation restriction prior to CPC consideration for funding. That's one step we have to finalize on the historic side. And then the other is these grant agreements, which Ellen sent you all copies of. We'll bring this up again in September, but I think something as simple as, I believe it was the town of Quincy grant agreement, very simple 2-page document. We're granting this money for the restoration of the POW message in a bottle, and they're going to do A, B, and C by such and such a timeline, and they'll preserve and protect the bottle in perpetuity. Very simple stuff. And then we would overlay that. So with our terms, and we got to get an account set up through the town. There might be a few things that Helen will add in through the finance department to get that type of grant agreement in place for us. But it'll also help with really sitting down with the applicant, knowing steps to be completed before any funding comes. So I think that'll be a real benefit to us going forward to avoid any misunderstandings over who's doing what and when things will be completed. Any discussion, thoughts on those? I'd like to get those behind us for the September meeting, and we'll be done with all of our annual bookkeeping and recording and things. Any other discussion? Yes, Tom.
So what you mentioned about those two items for the CPC plan, are we updating the handbooks on this, or what are we doing with this? Updating plan or what?
We'll be updating just the work list of the historic, where we add definitively that you need to have a historic preservation restriction in hand before you can apply for CPC funds. That would be one change. The only one I think we're contemplating. And then these grant agreements. We would add in the requirement of a grant agreement. Ellen, go ahead.
There's also updated numbers available that I'm going to plug in and get confirmed before you vote. We're not going to change its format or anything. We have pie charts that need to have different numbers. So I am going to do that. I'm going to reach out and make sure that and confirm with those who would know whether we've got it right and before the next meeting. And
that's all the numbers for our historic work, for acquisition of open space, all those charts, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions, discussions from members?
Lindsay, you were mentioning about the CR. How many outstanding CR are we still waiting for?
Well, 2, 3, it's Amaral, Haju, and Prince Ave.
Okay.
So those 3 are still outstanding, and then one's in the works. You know, I don't know how long it's going to take to, for example, the gift of the CR, how long will it take that final CR for Mills, for example, to go through the legal office at EEOA or
Right.
So now we have 4 in the queue.
Okay.
I I did, from what I understand, that CRs coming from one state agency to another get a different look, which probably means a different legal department looks at them as opposed to the CRs between a municipality and a private entity or a land trust.
Okay,
Okay,
I know.
but anyway, I hadn't thought about approval of the Mills CR in terms of the current year-long wait for some of these. Ay. Anyway, so that's a good question. We'll try to get some handle on that. Any other general discussions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, do you want to talk about the format for the next meeting?
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Tom. Very good catch. How do we want to do it? Remote? I know that
Remote.
works best for Maryland.
Definitely remote.
Remote from Farley.
I go remote. Tom, you have a preference?
Remote.
Catherine? Remote work for you?
Remote works fine for me. I'm always game for an in-person, but
All right. Well, we'll go for remote again in September. Maybe we'll do the October meeting in person. Although I haven't heard what, if any, specific requirements. We can get updated on those as well.
You have, you can be remote. They extended it to March of 2025.
March of 2025.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really? All right. Well, I guess we'll just check every month and we'll go from there. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
So moved.
I'll
second.
second that. Any further discussion? All members in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 That's unanimous. Thank you very much, folks. We'll see you next month.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Lindsay.
Thank you.